so I became, my mother pushed for, not, so I went, so I went there, and I would take everything. I tried, let's take some science courses, let's take a psychology course, let's try economics. Economics was at 8 o'clock in the morning, and that was not going to happen. It's not going to happen because nobody learns anything out of one bloodshot eye. So it was, so I kind of went through, I was way hooked on theater at that point. It's like an addiction.
At what point did you make the switch from theater to comedy, and what triggered that?
I was 40. I wrote plays for 22, 23 years, and I made that switch because I finally had gotten to the point where I had just enough reinforcement as a writer, as a playwright, every step of the way. Oh, look, it's going to happen. So my play was done at when I graduated from. I had a play that was hugely successful at UNC that I wrote with a group of students, and we went out and we took that play on the road. It had unbelievable reviews. We took it around the state of North Carolina when we were still in school. I then got a Schubert Fellowship from the school. It was through the school, so that for playwriting. Then I got into drama school at Yale. And also had worked as on my own as a playwright and at a theater that I helped run and that we formed together, and this just kept following out. It was just enough so that I was totally broke, just totally broke, and it went that way.
Death of a thousand cuts.
Yeah, exactly, perfectly put. And then we went to. My play was done at the Magic Theater. I had a play done there in San Francisco. And was the home of a lot of where Sam Shepard's work was done once he left New York. And so I thought, wow, it's all coming together. And then I had reached this point where we had a musical that I wrote with my friend Rusty McGee and another friend, Rand Forrest, who directed. We'd worked on it. It was like an hour and 20-minute without an intermission, and it was a rock and roll musical. And we did a kind of a workshop production at the Alley Theater in Houston, and it was there that I thought, wow, now I've made it. This is AAA ball. I mean, and it's kind of the best. Broadway I realized was now becoming elusive, but if I could play AAA ball, great. I'm very happy, and it was a horrifying experience, and everything that they told me at the theater was a lie, and I went, this is insane. I mean, and we had to. They had lied about the amount of actors we could get. We ended up, my friend Rusty and I had to actually, tell them, no, you're going to have to hire another actor and get rid of a student actor because we're not doing this. This is not what we signed on for. And we had to help pay for the other actor.
Was this the Czar of rock and roll?
The Czar of rock and roll, yeah.
Yeah.
And we made it into a 2-act play, and then I was supposed to be able to stay there and work on it, and they said, no, we don't have the place for you to stay. Well, I'm broke, so I need to come back there. And my friend Rusty had gone home. He's married, has a kid. He can't be there. I go across town. Now, at this point, I'd done just enough comedy. I was kind of working time and time. It started to do more stand-up and was getting pretty accomplished at it. I'd done it off and on, but as a hobby. And I went across town to audition at a place called Spellbinders. And I did the audition hoping I could get something. They said, well, we got an opening in 3 weeks, and we'll fly you back, and then we're going to pay you. Then they put me on as a headliner, which is completely unbelievable. So they flew me back, they paid me more, and they gave me a car, and I was in a nicer hotel. And I said, well, that's that. And I said, a drunk at a comedy club treated me with more respect than the place that I'd aspired to be a part of, and that was that. And I really didn't regret that decision. I missed it. There was a hole in my heart, but I just felt, well, I'm going to go out there and write my stuff, and I'm going to have to act in it. I'd have picked a better actor, but nobody let me.
I'm curious, and I know comedians get asked this question a lot. What was your first night of stand-up like? I mean, was it, did you kill? Did you bomb?
Oh, I was awful. It was just awful. I was so nervous. And I'd been very comfortable up to then speaking in front of people. But once I said, I'm going to make you laugh, whew, I literally, you can hear, I've got the tape still, and it's hidden away. I can barely listen to it. You just hear this, you just hear my breathing. It's about 30 seconds before I say the first words. And I just died up there, a horrible death, and then came back the next week, which shows just how stupid I am. But the first week, and I don't know if this is, you can edit this out, but this is actually what occurred. I had a dog named John, and he named after one of the Kennedys, not me, somebody else. And so the dog, my Cocker Spaniel, seeing that I was in danger, kind of raced toward the stage, jumped up there, and came toward me, and I grabbed him and put him on my lap and did something that I would do around the house for fun to entertain people, which I held him up like this, with holding his paws out, and went, and this is how a dog masturbates. And I just played with his genitals in front of the audience. Big laugh, huge laugh, massive laugh. I put him down and said, thank you very much, and thank the dog, and we're out of here. And at that point, I probably should have made it I should have worked with him.
Do you still get a rush now when you get on stage, or are you at a point of comfort level? I mean, do you still have any of the nerves, or is it that you've done it so many different times now, it's like standing in your living room?
I had nerves when I went back on the road after the hiatus. That was, up until then, the nerves were gone. I could sit and talk to you. I would spend 5-10 minutes looking at what I had to do, my notes and stuff, and put them down, and then I could sit and talk to you. And then they go, and there'd be 30 seconds, and I could go see you, and I'd walk on stage.
Now, did you eventually do the whole New York circuit and have to, from Catch a Rising Star to Dangerfields to
I did
The Cellar? Did you end up doing that whole circuit like everybody else?
I did, absolutely. That's how you learn.
Who was in, I guess I don't want to say graduating class, but who was essentially in your class at that time? Who was in the circuit that you'd see every night?
The great thing was the people I was with were just extraordinary. And so the first time I really went into Catch, which was just great. It was a great club up on the Upper East Side of New York. And it was, Rosie O'Donnell was the host, Dennis Leary, Kevin Meaney, Mario Cantone, and me. And that was who and because I was working a room that we were running as a theater called the West Bank Cafe Downstairs Theater Bar. And we had this, below a restaurant, we had a bar and a stage and 100 seats. And we would do plays. Really, we did 2 new plays each, 2 new one-acts each week, and really simple, no set, no nothing. And I would introduce all the plays, and I'd become, and then on Saturday night at midnight, we would do a free show where we would, I would do stand-up, and my friend Rusty would do some music and some musical comedy stuff that he'd written, and so I went across town, and now I had to take the stuff I was doing there, and it created pounds of material. Now I had to convert that material for the audience that came to a comedy club. And I really learned from those guys a lot. And it was great. I mean, Dennis Leary was on stage that night, the first time I walked in, and he was doing a bit on smoking, which was one of his one of his first breaking bits, when he became kind of well known. And I heard the bit, and I went, well, there goes that's the end of my smoking bit. That's gone. I'm not doing that again. And I just would pick up things, bam, 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 bam. and watching the other guys. Kevin Meaney was a genius. Mario Cantone is brilliant. Dennis was terrific. It was a great group to learn from.
Was the rant thing always your shtick, or I mean, or I mean, how did the angry man persona come about? Was that just? I mean, where did that come from?
It came from the fact that I was yelling some of the time. Some of the things I was doing were making me crazy, but I wouldn't yell out. I would turn around and yell at the wall behind me because I didn't think the audience could deal with it. And finally, a comic came in with a friend of mine who had been the guy who was my opening act for years was John Bowman. He and I had worked together at the West Bank. He brought in his friend from Michigan, Dan Ballard, who was a big guy and really extremely funny. And Dan did his bit, and then I did some stuff and came off stage. And Dan came to me and he went, "Come here." He said, "Look, I'm on stage yelling, and I got nothing to be yelling about. You're on stage, you should be yelling, and you're not yelling. I want you to go on stage and yell everything." And I did, and that was that.